You're listening to Sticky Note Conversations with Erika Washington.
Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Sticky Note Conversations. I am your host and creator and executive producer of Sticky Note Conversations, Erika Washington. And I am really excited because I have one of my favorite reoccurring guests, my almost brother, might as well be my brother, Erika Washington. And I figured we would continue having a conversation around current events. I feel like there's so much stuff going on that we couldn't cover it all in the last episode with Alvin. If you missed it, don't forget to go back and take a listen on Spotify or Apple, wherever you listen to your streaming podcasts and music. We talked a little bit about the new administration and the various boycotts that some Black folks and other people of color have been doing to sort of push back on the administration's shenanigans. That's what we're going to call them, shenanigans. And so this week, I want to talk with Derek about all things social media, how we're looking at social media right now, where we're scrolling, if we're scrolling at all, what we're doing instead of watching the news, if you're doing that, because a lot of folks have turned the news all the way off, and some have turned it mostly off. And then we're going to talk about the new legislative session. If you are not aware, Nevada's legislative session for 2025 has begun as of Monday of this week. February 3rd was the first day of session up in Carson City. And so now until the beginning of June, our elected officials will be making a lot of really important decisions about the state of Nevada. And so you should be aware and logging in. You can watch them on YouTube as well as on the Nellis website. So you can keep up with all of the bills that are flowing through both the Assembly and the Senate. But we'll get to that later. First, Derek Washington, welcome back to Sticky Note Conversations.
Hello, I am the director. I am the queen of the world. I am Mars needs women because Erika has them all in her body. You're that girl. You're that girl. Hey, can we talk about something real quick?
What?
This isn't on the list. The Grammys.
Oh, yes. Even though I didn't really watch them, I only saw the
I've seen the
clips here and
snippets.
there.
I would like to say that Doechii girl, I freaking love her.
Doechii? Is it
Doechii.
Doechii.
You know, the algorithms have taught us that Black people are hard R's. And along comes Doechii, who is an amazing artist whose rhymes are freaking intellectual and who gives you an actual show all at the same time. Her breath control is freaking amazing. Her choreography is next level. Her styling is just, she is so, and I hate to use the word sexy because why you got to say sexy, but she's so in control of her image. And she does not, even when they stripped her down to her underwear, she still came off as a class act. You know, it wasn't like she was being lascivious. It was like she was being Superwoman. Like,
why do you think that is?
She's got a brain, and I have a feeling that she guides her career.
Well, and her rap is smart, right?
Yeah,
She's
very
saying
much so.
something. It's not all about how she looks.
Right.
It's about how she feels or how she's showing up in the world or how she's seeing the world. And so I think that might be a part of that. Because
her look is her character. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
these other girls just came out of the Houston ghetto and talking about putting in my guts. I really think.
Is that a dig against Meg Thee Stallion?
I don't know. You know,
Wow.
a girl. So here's my thing about this. Let's go with Meg Thee Stallion. She's beautiful. She's intelligent. She can act. Her SNL show was one of the best I've seen in a long time of the celebrity. But she also ratchet culture. And I'm sick of ratchet culture. You know, stop giving white people the minstrel shows that they want, is my point. Erika has a look on her face right now. It's like, let me ponder this.
No, so I hear you. So there's, I guess, thinking about where is the line of autonomy to show up how you want to show up, wear what you want to wear, and behave how you want to behave. And then respectability politics. And then there's also space, in my opinion, for what we do in front of mixed company versus what we do around family. And I'm using the word family in a wide sort of definition of, your community, your community, right? And so it's that code switching of being at work and not being at work, of saying certain things that you may not say around certain people who don't look like you. And so I assume it's the same thing about the way you dress. However, you've got younger folks who are like, F that. Like, I am going to show up how I show up. I'm going to show up and be authentic and unapologetic and all of that, which I think is great. I think we should all show up in an authentic way. We should be who we are and show what we bring to the table. I feel like the sagging pants per se, which I don't like. I didn't know that it would last this long.
As a gay man, I would like to say, thank you, you big booty freaks with your pants down below your cheeks.
I don't like it.
So
I think it's unattractive. I don't understand it. And again, I didn't know it would last as long because
it's mainstream fashion now.
They've been sagging their pants since I was in like junior high school. Yeah. Like, this is not new.
You know it, and it's on the runways now. But
it's not a black thing. That's not a black thing. That's
it's a youth
urban-esque thing. I don't even think it's a youth thing. There are 40-year-old men running around sagging their pants. It's just a thing. And so the minstrel show piece of it, like, I don't know that that's what that is so much.
Well, okay, stop and think.
Because you've got so many folks doing the thing.
But what white girl is being promoted as stick it in my guts? None. People think that
that's just because they can't hold on to it. Because there was, what's her name? Iggy Azalea.
But the point is,
people will call her out for having a black scent because she's trying to sound a certain way. But she's basically talking about being rich and drinking and partying and, guts.
Right. But look at the majority. So, for instance, why is that there for every Janelle Monáe, there's 20 sexy reds? I think it's industry manipulative.
No, I think it is manipulative, but I think there is something that someone has figured out, like a recipe in our brains on what people will gravitate towards, like sugar.
Think about what you just said. There's a recipe in our brains that people will gravitate towards. So why is it that Black people are being fed this constant diet of ratchet? Like, for every Solange, there's 10 ratchets.
It's not just Black people.
Yeah, it is.
That's what I'm saying. It's not. Because if you're on TikTok or if you're on whatever, and we were going to talk about algorithms and we will, it's not. It's a thing for a certain piece of culture. To me, it's no different. When I talk about it's a recipe that is eating at our brains, it's like sugar or like salt. The same way people are addicted to sugar because they are, and it's been proven. And so they put more sugar in things so that people will want more of it. Same way there's something in McDonald's that people start eating McDonald's and then they're addicted to it in some way. And if you get off of it, then you don't want it. But if you go back, you want it over and over again. There's something there, whatever in the McDonald's crack. But listen, with the vast amount of low talent, it's like, it's the poppy music. It's very catchy. It's an earworm, as they call it, and it gets in your brain. And people are like, they just sing it over and over. But you have that in pop music, and this is how you have so many one-hit wonders, because they just kind of come and go because it's just something about it. I think it's done on purpose, and then people sort of become zombie-like. It's how people get stuck in social media and all of that. and listening to certain types of things. And I think that is not done by Black people. That is done by others who are trying to control a group of people, not just Black people, but Black people certainly included. And so no different than sugar in the hood and fast food in the hood. It's no different. And so I think there needs to be less room for blame of Black people doing things that seem detrimental to the community, and understand the same way drugs weren't cultivated and grown. Cocaine was not grown in the projects, but somehow or another it ended up there, and we ended up with crack, and we ended up with the crack epidemic that affected the Black community. Things start elsewhere and the seeds are planted, and then we end up fertilizing them, and then they become something more. So the constant blaming of what Black folks are doing and how white people see it, like, I don't jive with that, because it's not a thing. And the thing is, there's somebody else doing something there. And so, but there's room for also the self-expression, whatever that looks like, and having some freedom of that, which is something, many folks, especially Black folks and other people who felt like they needed to assimilate into something different, haven't had an opportunity to do. And so I also want to celebrate people not giving two Fs about how somebody else sees them, because that has to be really, really freeing, because I don't really live in that world. And although I feel like I come into spaces unapologetically, I still come with a certain level of respectability, politics that I have to sit with, because of the work that I do and the rooms that I'm in and the people I need to talk to, and have to be taken seriously.
That word, the whole phrase respectability politics, I think is a cop-out. I think that at the end of the day, have some self-respect, because if you don't care, your kids don't care. Now you've got, so for instance, with this ratchet thing, you've got little kids who've grown up in 3 generations of ratchet in the last 25 years. They don't know nothing but ratchet. You have boxed your own children, your own community into this box that they'll never get out of, while other communities are doing better. For instance, when Vivek Ramaswamy got in trouble for saying, American culture celebrates the prom queen over the mathematician, he said, now, I hate Vivek Ramaswamy, whatever his name is, but he was right. We as a nation focus on the wrong things as far as our education. And that's why people come in from other countries and just wipe the floor with us. And Black people especially, and that is designed to make, like you said, it's not us creating this crap. It is not. But I think we need to be aware it's not us creating this crap and fight back against it. Because at the end of the day, we're the ones at the very bottom of the totem pole, and it's been that way forever. They create it that way. Every time we get a step up, they knock it down with like crack or with, Wall Street, Black Wall Street. But my point is, we also have to take some responsibility and do better. And back to Doechii. Doechii is, she uses curse words. She definitely is herself, but you can also tell she's intelligent. She paid attention in school. She has something outside of TikTok in her life. I think that she's amazing. I think she's absolutely amazing.
Well, and I get that, right? So I think there's room for a multitude of folks doing a multitude of things.
Another question. What do you think of Cowboy Carter winning Country Album of the Year?
I mean, I think it was a big FU to all the people who have been crapping on Beyonce for making a quote unquote country album. I think that, I don't know. I haven't listened. I listen to country music. I listen to it not as regularly as I listen to maybe some old school R&B, but I have a couple country playlists, and I love Tanner Adele and Raina Rose and some other folks. And there's a lot of cute country Black boys that are out here looking real nice, looking cowboy-like. I am really focused on some of these videos that I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's actually the country music album of the year, I don't know. But she she did exactly what she needed to do. And I think in this way, it deserves to be the winner of the country album, because she uplifted so many other people on that album, including Miley Cyrus, who I do love, as well as Tanner Adele and a bunch of other Black country artists that other people wouldn't even know existed if it wasn't for this album. So the way she is using her platform, and how I assume she's going to be using this tour, because, she announced that she is now going on tour, the Cowboy Carter tour. And really? I was like, didn't you just get off a tour? Are you not tired? That's
interesting. And if she does feature other Black country artists, because my thing is, there's to me, I listen to a lot of country because of Cowboy Christmas and stuff like that when I'm surrounded by country people. So I made a playlist specifically heavily loaded with Black country artists. There's so many. I listened to Cowboy Carter once, and I was like, okay, whatever. Because it still sounds like Beyonce to me. So,
Beyonce sounds like Beyonce.
Yeah. She's Beyonce. So I didn't really feel like it was a country album. I felt like it was Beyonce sings country, like Ray Charles sang country. But I feel that there's so many better Black artists, but I'm hoping that because she won it, it won't cause a white lash, and then they really hate the Black artist, because it's hard enough to be a Black country artist.
I think she has enough pull and power that even if there is, because I think the white lash already happened. I think that was the past year. The past year has been because she was snubbed everywhere else. She was snubbed at the CMAs. She was snubbed everywhere. And then she did the halftime show on Christmas for whatever football game that was.
Football game, yeah.
Them Texas people were playing. And she did the halftime show, and everybody was watching. She proved her point over and over again, the point that as Black women, we always have to do, no matter how much success you have, no matter how much money you have, you still got to prove your point over and over and over again. And she proved her point, because nobody watching that game. I wouldn't even know that game existed if it wasn't that Beyonce was performing. It was like, what?
And the comments, it made white men, their weenies just shriveled. They were so mad about the whole thing.
But I mean, it was produced so well. The entire show was produced like it was the Super Bowl. She was like, I don't need the Super Bowl. Guess what? I will make one. And here we are. I've made a Super Bowl for myself and perform by myself. And then I brought in all the people I want to perform from my album, and basically just did a compilation of the entire album. So she proved herself. But yeah, she's doing a limited tour. She is coming back to Vegas.
Yeah, I want to go to that.
I think it would be an interesting show.
I hope that she does feature Black country artists.
I think they'll all be there. I
hope so. I bet
you all of them.
Because Shabuzi, I can't stand his hair, but I love him.
I don't mind his hair. I don't like the name, but I like how he sounds. Sounds nice.
Shabuzi.
What is that? What is that? It's whatever.
That's the country stuff. Go ahead.
Oh, before we wrap up the Grammys, did you see the Babyface snub? Let me explain it.
Set the scene.
I'm setting the scene. The red carpet. Picture this. Red carpet, Grammy night. The AP, Associated Press, had folks on the red carpet doing the red carpet junket that they do, and they are interviewing celebrities as they come along. So we see this clip of these two young women, probably in their early 20s, that are interviewing Babyface. And they're asking a question. He's answering the question. And then the one girl is doing some weird sort of matrixy thing. And they're like, yeah, she was tweaking. And I never really understand exactly what that means or what that looks like. But she's doing something like somebody was trying to go past her, but they weren't, because it must have been imaginary.
Right.
I don't know.
She did a Matrix.
Real weird. She did. It was very Matrix, and it was like back bending sort of something. And all of a sudden, they see Chaperone, Roan. It's Roan.
R-O-A-N.
And I should know this because I have listened to her music, because my young people that I've given birth to really love her music. Anyway. They see her off in the corner, and they're just like, Chapel, hey. And to call her to come over because they want her, for the next interview. But then they're both looking that way, and Babyface has the microphone, and then he's like,
you guys want to see that? Go do that.
Oh, you want that? Okay, go do that then. And he walks away. And they're
Hands
like,
in the
okay, sorry,
microphone.
thanks, babyface. And they didn't even give a crap what they did and how they did it. And it was just like, do you not know who Babyface Edmonds is?
They don't. They're Gen Z, and not to say anything. I love Gen Z, but they don't know who he is. And I'm not making any excuse for them because it was so awful. But I think that goes back to the age and the professionalism. Those girls look like they're from TikTok, as opposed to they went to journalism school.
But they have the AP in front of it. They're holding an AP
I agree with you.
microphone.
I agree
and
with you.
as a journalist myself, I have never held an AP microphone, nor would they have ever given me an AP microphone. As many red carpets as I did, and as many times that I've stood on the red carpet to interview celebrities at award events and what have you, and they would bypass us because we're Black media, and so they would bypass us, even Black folks. Their PR people would be like, they would look down because your name is on a card on the ground. And they would look down to see what outlet you're from. And if you weren't from an outlet that had a big enough whatever, whether it was name or readership or whatever it is, they would pass you by. And every now and again, you would get a Black person like, no, I'm going to them. But it doesn't happen enough. And so they have a position of privilege to interview like someone like him. And then they just do what they did.
And Babyface is a freaking legend. So I think that it was just...
I wrote half the songs that were even ever nominated at the Grammys.
Right. And he was married to Pebbles, which,
well, her legacy didn't end all that well.
Yeah, that's my girlfriend.
But I will tell you, Riding in a Mercedes Boy was one of my songs.
If you want to ride in my Mercedes Boy. Yeah.
You're listening to Sticky Note Conversations with Erika Washington.
So now that we've talked Grammys, let's talk, and you brought up social media and followers and all that. Let's talk about social media. I know that after the election, you felt some kind of way of watching the news or being on social media, because you are a news junkie you'll tweak on the news. Like, did you see this? Watch this. The stuff you send me, everything has to do with the news, and especially has to do with politics. And you were so fit to be tied. You were like, I'm done. So now that it's been some months and you've purged to a certain degree, where are you now in your journey?
I still, since election night, I have not watched MSNBC. I have not watched The View. I have not watched any political talk show whatsoever. I stopped watching the late night shows because the monologues, while brilliant on Jimmy Kimmel's part and Seth Meyers, it's politics. I basically glance at Huffington Post twice a day, and I made a conscious effort to completely change my algorithm. My algorithm now is real estate shows, Jay Leno's Garage, and Homeworthy tours, which we send back and forth to each other.
I love a Homeworthy tour.
Yeah, and I guess at some point I must have fallen asleep with one of those shows where the people go on cruises on YouTube, because now I have this gay couple who are always on cruises who I love. I don't even know
the
who
one
they are.
that they go all the way across the transatlantic.
The English couple.
One. Yes.
Yeah, they're saucy. But yeah, I literally changed my algorithm because the thing was, on election night, I glanced at MSNBC and they were on there acting like, well, blah, 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 blah. And all of their passion about how bad Trump is went into Trump is back, let's talk. And it has been nonstop Trump ever since, just like they want it. And they're not talking about the things that are bad, like Elon Musk having everybody in the world's info. They're talking about it like, oh, well, it's normal. And so I can't watch it. I cannot watch it. I can read stuff. Huffington Post, you read an article, you get all the information, you're done in 2 minutes. I can't sit there for 45 minutes anymore and watch these news people who just weeks ago were so passionate, now just doing their job and not doing their job. I can't do it. And that's probably part of the intention.
Do you think that Do you think it's that they think that's what people want to see? Or do you think that it is more of we feed it to them, same with the sugar, like we're feeding it to them so that they feel like they need more, like so that the news sort of becomes that crack.
Right. They're not talking about it's on fire. They're talking about it like, and today, today, Elon Musk sent people in, but then they'll go to what they feel is more important is DEI at the FAA. No, Elon Musk is over there with everybody's information. And that is more important. And why aren't you like screaming like your hair is on fire? So I just think that it's so, that night when I saw them do that, and Joy Reid was there, and she pissed me off because I expect better of her. She was doing the same thing. It was just so corporate. It was so, we don't actually really care. And we're not going to, it was the same panel over and over again. And all of their ratings all of the liberal media's ratings have bombed. And so it's not what people want. It's just not. So that's...
Do you think they'll ever listen to what people actually want, or they're just going to start doing something else?
Everybody's bending the knee to Trump. And so right now, Trump just... the FCC is now investigating NPR and PBS. And so that is scary. But they're not reporting it like it's scary. They're reporting it like it's another thing that happened today. Trump is now talking about a sovereign wealth fund. The sovereign wealth fund he wants to create to buy TikTok, state-run media. He knows how many millions of people are on TikTok every day. He wants to buy it. What good reason would the United States have to buy TikTok as a government other than to control what's on it? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm so disappointed in Main Street. Or, one thing that Sarah Palin said that I will always agree with, the lamestream media. And she was right. It's lamestream media because it literally is not doing its job anymore, So, no, and I've not read a newspaper. And I love reading the newspaper. But, nope, not doing it. And it's sad.
It is sad because I start to think about... So let's take these tariffs, for example. Mm-hmm. The new Trump administration promised before the inauguration that they were going to impose all of these tariffs on other countries, including Canada, Mexico, China, what have you, right? And so then he did it. And I think this goes back to why a lot of people are attracted to him and his power is that he says he's going to do something and he does something, right? Good or bad. He just does stuff,
I get it.
Right? And people like that. And then the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, came back and said, this is going to cause problems for everybody. Like, this is not just a Canadian thing because we will retaliate. I did not see Mexico's president come back and say anything. Now, I know there's been a pause on the tariffs for 30 days while they made some agreement to add more soldiers at the border on both sides, both Canada and Mexico, which to me just feels like you are bowing down, right? So, I don't know if the tariffs will actually ever happen or if it was just meant to be a scare tactic and be like, I'm getting ready to do it. Now what? Knowing that would scare people because it will cause a lot of jobs to be lost. It will cause the economy to tank in a lot of ways, and the cost of things will just skyrocket for some basic things that we may not even know that come from Canada or Mexico or China. Now, China, they're just doing what they do, right? It's gonna happen, and then China's gonna retaliate, and probably 90% of the stuff we have comes from China. So Temu is not even going to be cheap anymore at that point, right?
Temu's going to be $3.
Right. So, it's going to cause strife and concern somewhere. And I think some folks are still going to be like, well, it's fine because he's standing up because it's because of fentanyl. And I just really can't imagine that Trump is really like, you know what really keeps me up at night? The amount of fentanyl overdoses in this country.
Exactly.
And I've got to do something to stop it. So I'm going to force all these borders to have better control, to bring less drugs into this country. When we know, and if you watch enough movies, just regular movies, of how the how cocaine and fentanyl have gotten here, it's gotten here through the government, through the military, and what have you, because it's business, the same way prison is a business. Because if you stop drug use, the prison system might actually empty out some, and you wouldn't want that, because then who's going to do the free labor?
Who's going to do the free labor that you just got rid of the Mexicans for? Okay, real quick about this tariffs. Canada, and so he says he's doing these tariffs. Canada and Mexico then say, well, we'll send troops to the border. He then says, I won. No, those troops were already, that's Joe Biden did all that. They were already doing it. But he said, but he's a master at taking credit. And his people will never believe that Joe Biden negotiated that. Joe Biden negotiated that. It was already signed, sealed, and delivered. But Trump gets up there and says, I forced them to do it. And then people don't know the backstory, and they believe it. I will say this about Trump. America, and I'm going to say Black America, is sick of illegal immigration. Just sick of it, whether they know why they're sick of it or not. The Democrats missed an opportunity, creating sanctuary cities and things that just don't sound right to the average person who gets their news in little bits and bytes. My Mexican barber, his number one issue was how many genders are there and close the border. So Trump gets it. He's a master at finding out what people think they're mad about, and he jumps on it. So him doing all the deportations, a lot of people are looking at that like, good. A lot of immigrants I know have told me that they're for it because they did it the right way, the quote unquote right way. So, I get his appeal, but I really am upset about how all of this stuff is anti-Black. No matter what you look at, the DEI, the woke. So you're basically saying any Black person with a job, a white male could have done it better. And it's only because of woke DEI policies that they got the job. That is so insulting, especially to Black women, that I just, free Luigi. That's all I got to say. It bugs me. It really bugs me.
Well, and what people have said, and I don't know the actual statistical numbers, but for the most part, what people have said is that DEI actually has helped more white women than it's helped anybody else anyway. So it's not even so much that it's a quote unquote Black thing to give Black people work. But, right. And because I believe that to be true, I think that's why they do it. And because it sounds like it, because you say diversity and equity and inclusion. And
that sounds like no white people allowed.
Exactly. And so people are like, oh yeah, we should get rid of that. But you're actually hurting your brethren who have gotten jobs that they may not have gotten. And it helps white women, it helps Asians, it helps Hispanics,
disabled people.
It helps disabled people, it helps LGBTQ people, and then Black people are like number 6 or something on the list. Like we still not in the top 5, right?
But
so
you're able to say Black, you're able to code Black and dog whistle Black, and it works for everyone. Because at the end of the day, everyone hates Black people, and it's in their DNA. That is where we are in life, and whatevs, because whose culture are y'all constantly trying to be? But anyway, don't get me started there. But I have avoided the news. But there are people who are saying the news in a way, because you know me, I don't like anything serious. It can't be too serious for too long. I like stuff that blows up and makes me laugh. So I have been listening to the Wow Report. Have you ever listened to the Wow Report?
I haven't.
Okay.
So wait, I was going to ask you, is this a podcast?
Yes.
Okay,
The Wow
good.
Report.
Because I was going to ask you what your top 3 podcasts were.
The Wow Report is from the team that made RuPaul's Drag Race. They are a group of middle-aged gay men who are very cultured, very educated, but a lot of fun. They're queens. They're everything. But they talk about pop culture, and they also talk about politics. They're all very political, and they talk about it in a fun way, like when we talk about politics. And I highly recommend the Wow Report. Bevy Smith, who is my goddess. Bevy Smith is on Radio Andy, as is the Wow Report. She is a Black woman of a certain age. Her phrase is, "It gets greater later." Bevy Smith features people from stars like, what's that one woman, Jennifer, the one that's too much for me. Jennifer Lewis. Yeah. Like,
you just shared her on your Facebook stories, and I was going to make fun of you. And I was like, I thought you said she was too much, but here you go sharing her Black History song, which is great.
Yeah, she's too much. You know, she's like the person that would drive me crazy on the drive from Vegas to Los Angeles, and you would just be in heaven. You're like, yes, yes, yes. And I'd be like, does she ever stop talking? But so Bevy will have her on, and then she'll have somebody who I've never heard of before, who's the third lead on Harlem on Tubi, you know, and give them their appreciate their art. She's a Broadway girl like you. She sees all the shows. She loves living her Black life. She goes to fancy events and she talks about it. But she also will cuss Donald Trump out on air, and people will call into her show. And if they express something stupid, she'll be like, no, miss me with that. Get off my show. But she will also be kind and caring with people who just don't understand what she's talking about. I love her. And then finally, my new one is All on the Table with Katie Lee. She is a regular judge on Beat Bobby Flay, my favorite show. And I love Beat Bobby Flay. And she talks about gossip behind the scenes in the restaurant industry, which you don't think you care about, but she names names and talks about, you know, bad behavior, like people like Mario Batali in front of the King and Queen of Spain. She's got interesting stories. She's pleasant. She never talks politics. And you just learn so much, especially about the vibrant restaurant scene in New York, which I think is right up your alley. Because you do.
I love a good eat.
Yeah, you do go to New York and enjoy all the New Yorky things. You do hit the shows and the restaurants. So
I love New York.
Yeah, so those are my 3.
I think I probably told you this before, but I always thought that I would grow up and live in New York. I just knew that I was going to grow up. I was watching Baby Boom as a kid.
She's a native New Yorker.
And I was going to grow up and I was going to be, Diane Keaton, walking to work with my easy spirits on and with my briefcase.
Looks like a pump, feels like a sneaker.
Right. Or I got my tennis shoes on and my pumps in my hands and I'm living in a high rise and I'm working 90 hours a week. Right. I don't know why that sounded exciting to me. That sounded like that's what we were supposed to be doing, you know, and that was going to be the life. Like, it looked like the most glamorous thing. And like that was my dream, was to grow up and work a lot of hours.
That 90s woman.
Right. So I love New York, and every time I go, I'm like, dang, I could never afford to live here. Like, I don't know how people eat and have a place to live at the same time.
Okay, you're a very focused, very powerful woman. You you travel in circles, you know, that are women like you, which I've always admired about you. That your circle of women is so positively Black women. Y'all are bougie. I like it, but you all know where you came from. You know? So what do you think changed from that? What happened with women? Did y'all just have a collective, we can't do this? Like, what happened? Because, yeah, you're right. It was the woman who had it all. Like, when did y'all realize that, you know, Is it anti-feminism? Is it like, what happened that y'all said enough? And because there's definitely been a change almost now to where, you have these fake trad wives, which is just another thing that was created by algorithms and men. But what happened? What was the point? When did you realize that life I'm not going for that life?
I think that life was trying to eat us alive. I think that the idea of it still sounds great, to be able to have the career that you want and love, to do something that you actually get enjoyment out of. I think has been a part of the dream, right? For a long time, because nobody thought going into the workforce that you would go into a job and you'd hate it, and you go to work every day like, I hate this. I don't want to be here. I don't like the people. The work is, it's too difficult, or I never get a day off, or, whatever the complaints that come with the job, which also to me is somewhat contrived, because I think the idea of office politics is so made up that people feel like they have to have office politics, and they have to have some backbiting and all of that. And it's something that I brought up regularly in my office, that I don't do that. We don't do that here. If you got something to say what you need to say, call it out, call it in, whatever. Everybody has a bad day, all of that, but there's no room, and we're too small for backbiting and gossip, right? It's just silly. And it doesn't have to be that way. So it's a trope that people feed into. But I think that, and then, people who want children think that they could, I can do that. I can have children too. And I can have this great job. And I could have whatever type of home I wanted. And if I want a husband or don't want a husband or wife or whatever it is, whatever all those things are that look like we could do it. And then you get there and you realize we were set up for failure. We were fed, we were fed rotten food, because it's not even true, because the policies aren't there. Like the policy of paid leave that we're going to talk about, the policy of having time off so that you can have a baby, or forget that. Maybe you're not even trying to have a baby. Maybe you're just trying to take care of yourself. Maybe your spouse is sick. Maybe your parent is sick. Maybe, maybe something else is going on and you need to take a couple of weeks off so you can get your crap together and be who you need to be to get back to work and get yourself back on track. That space isn't there for us at all. And so you add on top of that, barely having paid sick days. You add on top of that, barely making ends meet with the amount of money you need in order to pay for all of the necessities, because a lot of things that were once extras are now necessities. The internet was something everybody didn't have, right? And if you did, you're like, oh, wow, you got a computer at your house? Oh my goodness. And now it's a necessity. You can't live without the internet. And the same way with cell phones. And you add, for some people, cable television. If it's not cable, then it's some sort of streaming service. And then you need to have a car, which means you need to have car insurance, which means, you need to have all of these other things that it just goes on and on and on. And then when you add children to it, and you get into this competitiveness of making sure that your child has as much as the next child over, then you start going into debt and circling down the drain of what it costs for cheerleading, what it costs for football, or whatever else the kid might be into. And, you're always behind. And if you buy a house, and then something goes out, the plumbing or HVAC or whatever happens, it's just always something that you realize, what does it even mean to have it all? Because to have it all means you got a lot of headache is what you have, and you have a lot of stress. So unless you're independently wealthy, or have this opportunity where you're not starting off in debt from school, you're always playing catch up constantly. And I think a lot of people are just ready to get off of that carousel of always feeling like they're playing catch up. And I don't know that I've given up on the idea of having it all. I just think my all is something very different than what it used to be. My all is about centering me in a way that isn't about being selfish, but it's about self-preservation so that I can be here for my children and so that I can figure out what the rest of my life looks like. hopefully I still have more years ahead of me than I do behind me. And if that is true, then I have only got one body, and I can only exhaust it so much. And I'm not going to exhaust it for people who don't actually care about me or my livelihood and whether or not I'm breathing tomorrow.
One of the things about you is you manage to center yourself in not a selfish way. And, because some people say, oh, self-care, oh my God, I'm going to put a meme up about how, just be strong, be strong. Those are usually the most toxic people. But anyway, you don't do all that, but I see you doing self-care. But I also think that you're the best mother of girls I've ever seen in my life. I think, I'm just going to blow your head up for a minute. Folks listening.
Oh, yay. Yeah. Make sure you turn your volume up.
Right. Erika, her relationship with her 3 daughters, Shasta, Fanta, and the little one.
That's are not their names. But
they answer to them. Anyway, each one of them has their own mom. Each one of them has their own relationship with their mom that is based on them. And it's so interesting to see you interact with your daughters separately and together. And each daughter takes care of the other daughters. Like your oldest daughter, I'm always amazed at how she's always like caring about her littlest sister. Just always, taking care of making sure she's happy, centering her.
That's the closest. They've been the closest since the youngest was born.
Yeah, it's interesting, but I wish that everybody could take your course in momming because it's done right. And I don't know how you manage to know how to do that, but it's impressive. And all of those girls have their own personalities, their own goals, and they're all supported no matter what they're going through. It's not like you're saying, do whatever you want to do, be crazy, but you're like, okay, if you're going through this, let's talk about it. Talking about stuff creeps me out, but you guys do it naturally. Like, it's amazing.
Not all the time. And thank you. Thank you. I think the highest honor is being a good parent because it's the job that is thankless most of the time, and also the one that you really have no idea how to do it until you do it, right? You can read books all you want, but that doesn't, to me, mean anything because every kid is different. And the one thing that I did learn is that although children can have the same DNA and have the same 2 parents, they're still different people. And so you have to treat them as who they are, which is hard to turn your brain on and off in different ways because different parts of my brain has to work to connect with theirs because everyone's love language is different and everyone's way of understanding things is different. Their ways of learning and how they receive information and how they understand what you're talking about as a whole. And so realizing that my oldest, like I was never much of a spanker. I did spank when they were really young. Probably the oldest and the second one, not as much. And then the third one, not at all. Then I realized that spanking wasn't really a thing. It was a thing that I learned as a kid and thought that that's what you were supposed to do, not because I thought you should actually do it. And so when I did it and I realized, actually, this isn't really working. But also it didn't really work on my oldest at all. She was like, so whatever. But what did work when Shay was really young was taking things away that they really enjoyed. And when they were in like kindergarten, 1st grade, love wearing dresses every single day to school, every single day. But there was an incident, something happened. I can't remember what it was. The punishment was now you have to wear pants to school every day for a week. You would have thought I out killed that child. Oh, pants. You make me wear pants to school. I don't want to wear pants to school. I'm going to look like a boy, like so just bad. It worked. It worked better than anything else. And then my second.
So do you still have that look like black moms have that says, I'm going to make you wear pants?
Probably, but
does it still work?
It doesn't work the same. And so that's the thing now, right? Like they're all basically adults now, like literally soon the last will be 18. very
scares
soon.
me. That scares me.
It scares me. But so when people are like, your children, I said, my tax-paying voters is who they are. This is where parenting is hard. This is a tough part because I'm still their mother, but they have lives and they make their own decisions. And so you're there to help give guidance to that. And you're there to be helpful as much as you can. But it's not the same of do as I say, or, you need to do.
I've never seen you do that.
What they're doing. I'm sure I have not always been great. Like I have had some times where I'm like, ooh, that probably was a parenting fail. Like there's plenty of parenting fails in my life. Some of them I will not repeat. It's just, I didn't do the greatest job, or I didn't answer something in the right way, didn't react in the right way, because I'm a human being. And I also try to remind them I am a human being and I'm learning as I go. And I've never been a parent of a 7-year-old until I was a parent of a 7-year-old. Right. And so now I'm the parent of a 25-year-old, a 21-year-old, and an almost 18-year-old.
Wait, back up. She's 25.
Yes. Well, Shay goes by they. They are 25.
I rolled
Shay
my
goes
eyes.
by 25.
Shay, I love
Stop
you.
rolling your eyes.
I rolled my eyes.
Pronouns are important. And so, yes, but they are 25.
Oh my God.
And has lived not under my roof since 2017 when they went off to college. Like my children don't come back when they leave.
Yeah, this is true. Though the little one ain't leaving.
Oh no. But I feel like, but this is the part, and I've said to my therapist, I said, honestly, I want my epidural now. I did not need it during during labor, but I need an epidural now because there are times, that, these young folks make decisions that you're like, oh, wow, ease, that's what you're doing. Don't do that. Like, let's do something different. And you're trying to rally and figure it out. And you don't want to say, like, just don't effing do that. But sometimes because we can see further, we can see a further distance than they can sometimes. And so you want to stop them from making a mistake or not being able to see what is coming down the line. But sometimes you can't do that. And you have to let them do what they're going to do and then be a safety net for them. And that's the hard part because, it breaks my heart when they're sad and there's nothing I can do about it, or they, someone else has hurt them or whatever. There's just a space where my mommying is just not, it's not the healing balm that will work anymore, in that way. And so, I've given them enough of a runway to take off and be great. And I think they all will. And I appreciate you seeing that because sometimes I don't see it and sometimes they don't see it because as much as I think they might be in their little group chat that I'm not in talking about how great I am, I'm sure sometimes they're not. And that's okay. That is okay. But
back in the Gilded Age, we could have just married them off and you wouldn't have any problems.
Speaking of the Gilded Age, it's coming back.
Yay!
Gilded Age. That is a great transition to one thing, talking about what you're watching. And I'm going to tell you about my podcast too in a second. But I want to know, because you're not watching the news, what you're watching and what's keeping your attention. So I'm going to give you one of mine, and that's the show Harlem, because
Bevy Smith is on that show. She plays auntie. She plays aunt somebody. I haven't watched it because it's a subscription. You'll send me your password. I'll
send you my password.
Yeah. Bevy Smith is on that show as auntie somebody.
Okay, then I think I know who she is now because I know I have her book somewhere that you let me
I
borrow.
bought you and you never read. I didn't loan it to you. I bought it as a gift.
I'm going to read it.
4 years ago.
My bookshelf has a lot of to be reads on it, to be honest. It's more about buying the books and reading them at some points in life, and I'm getting better at it. It's something I'm working on. Leave me alone. So, yes. So Harlem, this is I don't know if it's his third or fourth season, but it's the final one. Yeah. It's the last season. And so what's her face is on it.
Shaniqua.
Shaniqua.
Yeah, there's a girl. It's because Bevy Smith interviewed her just on Friday. This is something I know because Bevy Smith is on that show, and I love Bevy Smith. I'll tell you exactly who it is. Where's my?
But it's old girl Megan. What's her name?
Good.
Yes, there you go. Megan Good. Megan Good is
You
on
know
there.
that's you know that's she's right up my alley. My gay self loves her.
Anyway, yeah, she's on it.
Shaniqua Shandai is on the show.
Oh, that's the girl that plays. She's so much on the show.
Yeah.
Her character is my least favorite. And so Harlem, for people who have never seen it, it's a Black, younger version of Sex and the City, basically. You know, 4 friends, single women, you know, living their best lives, fashion, has time for brunch and lunch all through the week, all through the day, as, you know, working women do. And Megan Good plays a professor at Columbia University who still seems to always have time for brunch and lunch at any time of the day.
And be hot.
Yes, and be hot, always be fit. And also everyone lives in luxurious places in New York, you know, so there's that. The show has grown on me. I wish that it had more time to like really figure out who it was. And I find that always being the problem with a lot of shows that are Black shows of Black leads, that they're not given enough time and enough funding and enough writers to be able to like really become something greater. Because I think it could have, because Megan Good's character actually gets on my nerves quite a bit. And thinking about them, almost all of them get on my nerves in some way, shape, form, or fashion. But I think it's sort of the same as Sex and the City. They all sort of got on your nerves in different ways. I don't know, except Samantha never really got on my nerves. But I think the girl you're talking about, Shaniqua, I think she's supposed to be Samantha, right? But to me, it's that
stereotype.
No, because it's a stereotype because she's a big girl, plus size girl, but then she's also the oversexed girl, and she's also the darkest of them all. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of that Venus Hottentot type of situation happening there.
And they discussed that in the Bevy interview, so I'm going to send that link to you.
Okay, because I'll listen to it, because I think that like all that is fine in and of itself, but it almost feels like they never let her turn it off. Because I'm like, no one talks like this, like constantly. It's like, even when she's talking to her fiance, it's so over the top. And it's just like, but that's not, isn't that real?
Isn't that Samantha? And therefore, why is it different when a Black girl does it?
I get either with Samantha. Oh, honey, I never do such and such.
I love the taste of it. Yeah.
Yes, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. And it was also like, but Samantha did, like, when she's walking down the street talking, she'd be like, oh, well, da-da-da-da-da-da. Her tone did change when they were having conversations, where I feel like that, because I was actually really paying attention in the last 2 episodes of the new season. Like, her tone didn't even change when they were just sitting there talking. Everything was still the same way. I don't know. It just sort of
100 miles per hour.
But regardless, yeah. And then you've got the lesbian, and then you've got the light-skinned girl, and then you've got Megan Good, who's, you know,
Megan Good.
Carrie. Mm-hmm. Megan Good, right.
I love her, and I love Nicole Ari Parker. Do you see a string there in what Derek likes?
Yes, I do know what Derek likes. If Derek was not a gay man, I certainly know what your lady would look like.
Yeah, you do. And she'd have a baby mama G-Wagon.
Catch the rest of this conversation with Derek next week. Thanks for listening to Sticky Note Conversations with Erika Washington. Hosted and executively produced by Erika Washington. With editing by Black Gypsy LLC and Simone Endres. Special thanks to KUNV 91.5 in Las Vegas. This show is powered by Make It Work Nevada, a project of Tides Advocacy. To hear Erika and Derek talk more about the latest TV shows, plus other topics like important bills in Nevada's legislative session and MAGA fashion, tune in next week.